Many people are buried in debt. They're living paycheck to paycheck.
I remember every time the phone rang being afraid that it was a debt collector.
Most aren't prepared for retirement. Some may be doing well financially, but are time-starved.
I knew how to make money, but man, did I know how to spend money.
Some people are just going through the motions without any dreams or goals.
We came to this country looking for a better life. We ended up like everybody else, just going home to work, home to work.
Some are looking for a change, but don't have the tools and information to help them get ahead.
I was one of those guys that money burned a hole in my pocket. Then I get around, the Life Leadership Organization. Their thinking is so different. Financial offense is learning to have the mindset of the truly wealthy.
Retirement has nothing to do with age. It has to do with developing enough passive income.
Active income is trading time for money. Passive income is investing in an asset that creates ongoing income whether you're asleep or awake.
Investing in you is the best investment you'll ever make.
When your finances are in distress, your whole life is in distress. It felt like no matter how much money we made, it was never enough.
It's not what you make, but what you keep that determines financial success.
More money doesn't fix your problems until you understand your own financial situation and take charge of it.
Learn the history of money and why it matters.
There are few programs out there that have the offense. There are even fewer programs that teach the defense. But there is only one program out there that teaches the offense, the defense, and what is the playing field that you're on.
Studying and understanding free enterprise is an essential part to financial fitness.
Better information equals better thinking, which equals better results every time.
It's time for you to get financially fit with the offense, defense, and playing field of personal finance.
Hi, I'm Dan Hawkins, and welcome to this short video by Life Leadership. Today I want to walk you through one of our best-selling products and show you how we've attached a business model to the best-selling product, Financial Fitness Program. Now this program is unique in the industry that it breaks finance into three distinct categories. We have the defense. That's learning how to save money, how to get out of debt, how to cut costs, how to do all the things necessary to kind of pull in the financial reins and get out of the debt and get out of the struggles of everyday life financially. The second is the offense of finances. This is for those who want more out of life, who really, like myself, when I was first introduced to this, I wanted a bigger life. I wanted more, and I realized very quickly that I would have to go on the offense financially, create my own business, start learning the success principles of entrepreneurship, and start building my own company to go out there and produce more income into my life. And the last one is the playing field of finances. This was so foreign to me as an auto mechanic getting introduced to this industry, is understanding that there's so much more to money than working day to day. There's whole underlying principles of our economy, how taxes work, how interest rates work, and all those different pieces that fit into the financial puzzle. The Financial Fitness Program takes you through all three fields and gives you the complete picture of finances. Now let me share a little bit, because my best way to explain this to you is through my story. And it kind of is framed even better by a book by Robert Kiyosaki, and explains the differences of how money is made. And when I walked into this program, I really only knew a couple of categories. Let me walk you through it. There's 4 ways, he says, you can bring income into your household: being an employee, a self-employed person, a B-type business, or an investor. And now, when I was first introduced, all I understood was employee and self-employed. And I was under the mindset that if I got a good job, worked really hard, and saved my money, at some point I'd be able to retire a happy life. And I don't know if you can relate to this like me, but at 26 years old, I was already starting to see the struggles. I was working 40 to 60 hours a week as an employee, and the way I was paid was my time. I was my biggest asset. The amount of work I put in over the course of a week was exactly what paid me when I got out. And I started to have thoughts of an entrepreneur, like, maybe I should start my own company. Maybe I should jump down and become self-employed. And now I've met tons of self-employed people. My stepfather ran a repair shop, and he was self-employed. And all of a sudden I realized the overhead that it took to start up your own company, and recognized that the time invested was no different. Now on the employee and self-employed side, even though I was working hard, I was finding myself falling short on finances. That's where the defensive side of financial fitness comes in. You see, I started to realize, even though I was working hard, I wasn't getting the lifestyle I wanted. Suddenly I found I had auto payments, I had a house payment. I remember the first time I was sitting at the bank and I bought an $87,000 house. Now, I thought that's about all I could afford at the time as an auto mechanic, but going through the paperwork, I realized as I walked down, by the end of it, I'd pay almost $300,000 for this $87,000 house, and I almost looked around me at the moment like, is there a camera watching me? Because this can't be right, that this house I'm going to pay this much money for. Yet everyone around me was doing it. And suddenly I recognized that even though I was working hard, I was having a hard time getting ahead, and everybody told me the way to get the lifestyle was to finance it. Suddenly I start to learn from successful people. Let me give you a little advice here. Warren Buffett was a gentleman. He was speaking to a whole college auditorium full of college students ready to start their lives, and he said his 2 words of advice. Now mind you, here's Warren Buffett, pretty successful guy. He came from very humble beginnings and earned his way to one of the wealthiest people in the world. And he was sharing about the top 2 things he believes would help them be successful financially. Number 1, get out of debt and stay out of debt. Now I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but he basically said debt is something that'll work against you every night. When you go to bed at night, you'll wake up broker in the morning because debt's working against you. So he said, avoid it at all costs. Now it's kind of funny thinking a group of college kids probably have a bunch of money invested in their education. The average credit card debt of a college student's now up over $3,000, and he's telling them, get out of debt and stay out of debt. Number 2, the second thing he said was invest in yourself. You're your biggest asset. Start applying principles and investing and learning in yourself. Now, as an employee, I only learned how to become a better auto mechanic. That's where I started. I was 26 years old as an auto mechanic, and I had a mortgage. I had 2 car loans. I had credit card debt and student loan debt. And I started to feel like something was wrong with me, but I recognized the world is doing the same thing. And here's some statistics for you from bankrate.com that I picked up. There's a couple of things. One, the average family has about $15,000 of credit card debt that use a credit card in their home. The average mortgage is around $147,000 for a family. The average student loan debt is over $30,000. The average car loans are over $30,000, and only 59% of Americans have over $500 in a savings account. Now, I wasn't sure if I should feel good about that because everybody else had it, or feel bad about that because that's where I was. But I started to recognize there was an issue going on there that I had to fix, and the financial fitness program brings in the principles to start fixing those on that side. And I started to apply the information. I suddenly listened to a few audios from Life Leadership in the financial fitness program, and I was able to pay off 2 car loans. Instantly, I had an extra $600 coming into my family's pocket that now loosened up the belt a little bit financially. But here's what I learned. If I really wanted to live the life I wanted to, I was going to have to start applying the offense. You see, there's this graph called the 45-year plan, and it's the U.S. Department of Labor has given us statistics over decades, and it shows the average life of a person income-wise, and it graphs income over age. And basically, here's the gist of it. 18 to 20 years old, you start off in a career, and for the first 10 years, you see some pretty good improvements in finances. You get 10% raises, 20% raises, and I lived this as a mechanic. I graduated school, started to see all these raises, but somewhere around 30 years old, things change. It starts to flatline, they call it, and your income kind of levels off, and maybe you get 3% cost of living raises, maybe you don't. I found myself with no raises for 4 or 5 years, and I started to look down that graph and realize people 5, 10, 15, 20 years older than me were about in the same financial boat I was in. Maybe they had a little drier seat, maybe they had a little bit better standings, but they still had mortgages and debts and all these things. And I realized by studying the financial fitness program that there was an offense. If I really wanted to get out of the debt, if I really wanted to live the life I wanted to, I had to go on the offense. And that's where Kiyosaki talks about the B-type business. Now, a B-type business is something that uses systems and develops people to create passive income streams. Now, that type of income stream is something that you can set up where it takes hard work up front, but then pays back long term, whereas an employee on the other side of the quadrant, it was all day in, day out, hour work, hour pay. Let me give you the best analogy I've ever heard. If there was a fresh water source and there was a village that needed water, the two sides would think radically different. Employee and self-employed would think, how do I physically transport water from the fresh water source to the village, and they'd pay me for every bucket that I delivered. The B-type business owner thinks, how do I build a system that might take some energy and effort up front, but once that system's in place, it'll deliver water to the village without me. So if you built a pipeline from the fresh water to the village, suddenly water flows through there and you get paid gallon after gallon, hour after hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 months a year. And I realized at 26 years old, being an auto mechanic stuck on that left side, if I could learn how to get out of debt and start building a B-type business, I could radically change things in my life and start bringing income streams into my home. Now let me show you, Life Leadership studied that, and we said, what if we can give people away? If they want to get out of debt and apply those principles to what they're doing today, fantastic. Welcome to Life Leadership, and get your financial fitness program today. I've spent way more money on a lot worse things than what would cost you to get involved and start getting your finances on track. But on the other side, we can start teaching about a B-type business. What if we helped you develop systems and people in a systematic way that developed an income stream for you? Now let me tell you the 4 different industries that Life Leadership has tapped into to create an offensive plan for you and your family that we've used for my family. There are 4 different trends. The first trend is home-based business. Why do we do home-based business? As an auto mechanic, I started to study. If I wanted to strike out on my own, I was looking at least $500,000 to buy a building, get the tools, get the phone service, get the insurance, get all that stuff that's wrapped into starting your own business. Traditional business was cost prohibitive for me as a 26-year-old mechanic. But when I started to understand home-based business, allowed me a way to get in business, man, I had a laptop and a countertop, and I was in business, ready to roll with no limits. And I realized that is the way that people can work from home, have time with their families, and literally be able to jump into business with no top to income they can earn right out of their home with very limited investment to get started. So we kind of tapped into that industry. The second industry that really makes home-based business possible today is the internet. You and I have watched the internet evolve over our lifetimes. I still remember the first website I went onto. I sat down, typed in the website, hit return, went down, had a sandwich, watched a half-hour sitcom, and came back, and the next site was up. And now you're really careful which site you pick next because you got to wait a half an hour. Now, if you would have told me the internet was going to revolutionize business then, I would have had my doubts. But look what it is today. It's involved in everything we do. You can do business at the speed of thought, and we're going to talk about the internet. The third trend, distribution. You start to study different successful business owners like Sam Walton and how he really mastered the distribution chain. And we realized if we can go right from the manufacturer right to the end consumer, eliminate the middlemen, we can take that money, and that's now extra profits and lower costs for products to move to the world. So we're going to tap into the power of distribution. And the last one, franchising. You see, as a 26-year-old auto mechanic, struggling financially, having no business knowledge at all, if I didn't have a franchisable, duplicatable way, a system that I knew would work, how could I ever possibly get success in business? By tying in those franchise principles, Life Leadership builds a company right in the middle of those 4 trends and helps people succeed to live a better life and create those income streams. Let me give you a little preview of how it works. Back in the late 90s, a couple of our founders went and listened to Michael Dell from Dell Computers talk, and he shared 3 keys to success of future of business. He said you got to have content, commerce, and community. Now let me kind of walk you through that, because content says you need a product or service that the world loves, that the world needs, and that people will be attracted to. Well, that's our financial fitness program. That's our #1 best-selling product. Why? Because of those statistics I gave you in the beginning. I just heard another one from Psychology Today that over 70% of people go to bed at night stressed out about finances. That's a market that could use this information. And even if you're not stressed out, so many people need to figure out their kids' college education, their early retirement, all the different things that wrap into finance, and our product captures all that. And then we also have thousands of other products that help people in all areas of life develop themselves personally, which is the second thing that Warren Buffett said you had to do to be a successful life, is get out of debt, financial fitness, invest in yourself, all the suites of products from Life Leadership. The second piece is commerce. What Michael Dell said is when products move back and forth, their commerce takes place. And with tapping into that distribution model, we literally can go manufacture, direct to the customer, eliminate the middlemen, and free up a lot of profit in that industry that we can return back to the members that are involved. But the last C was the biggest C that Dell talked about. He said community is the future of business. Now, you and I have seen community radically change. You can talk about Apple computers, man, where people wait in line to buy the next iPhone. As I give this talk, Apple Computers just broke the record for the history of the world in studying finances for the largest valuation of a company, over $700 billion. And I promise you, when they launch the next iPhone, people will wait in line. And I always joke around and say, the iPhone 7 better teleport you somewhere, because it seems like that should be the technology by now. But people get so excited because Apple built community. People love being a part of that product line. And so what Life Leadership has done is said, what if we could start to gather entrepreneurs from throughout the world See, the internet allows us to get everywhere. There's no limits to where we can reach. And entrepreneurs throughout the world can gather together, start eliminating debt and investing in themselves personally, and helping others create systematic streams of incomes by following a duplicatable process. And we can encapsulate that whole piece of have a great product, have a wonderful compensation plan to share profits back with community, and build a community of entrepreneurs working together. Let me walk you through what it's going to look like for you as you join Life Leadership today. As you get started, it's very simple. There's a form you're going to fill out, and you're going to fill out that application, order your first set of products, pick on that enrollment, which enrollment option you want to go, depending on what you want to get out of Life Leadership. As you get started, here's how it's going to look like. You're going to hold your spot in a team of people that are already working together, succeeding. I love this part about it because you're partnered with people that already know what they're doing. And you're going to start working together to expand your community, to add more households to this program, to start learning these principles with you. And let me give you a little picture of what that looks like. So as you're working together with your friends, you're going to start adding households, and the goal is to get about 15 households utilizing our products. And in that process, you get to learn every step of the way. And as you feel comfortable, we encourage you to invite some of your other friends and family to learn about this with you and be part of that first 15. As you start to become more competent in what you're doing and feel more comfortable with it, you're going to go out and start a second community of people. And you're looking for about 9 households using this information. Now, when you've done that, when you've gotten 15 households together working with your team, and then you step out and do 9 based on what you've learned, and you start to learn how to apply our systems and our programs, that on average is about $1,250 a month income into your life. Not to mention, you hold that for 6 months. We send you on an all-expense-paid trip for your performance and for the appreciation for you helping us expand this community. Now, let's say you want to take it bigger. Here's one piece that I love to share with people, because you might be sitting there right now thinking, oh yeah, my buddy just wants me to get in so he can make money off me. And I love that process. I thought the same thing too. But watch how this works. Your friend may have invited you tonight, but when you get started, it's totally up to you what you do with it. You're going to work together in that first 15, and if you go out and start 9, you're making $1,200 a month, where your friend may not do that, and they may only make a little bit of a return on the products that they personally use or sell to someone else. Now, you can take it as big as you want. Now, let's take it a little bit further. Let's say you're real ambitious and you want to make more money. You can go ahead and help those 15 people go out and share with their friends, family, associates, people that they know that want better information. And you go that 15 and you help 38 people start using the product. And then you help those 9 people go out there and share this idea and expand that to 22 people using our product. Suddenly, you're making $3,500 a month on average. And that's coming into your lifestyle. Again, if your buddy that invited you only does 15 and 9, they're back at the $1,200. So it's not about when you get in. It's about what you do with it when you do get in. And you get to work together with other successful people, learning the principles, and then you take it as high as you want. Let's say you want more. You go out there and start a third organization. Now, if you have 90 in the first one, 60 in the second one, and 16 in the third one, you're talking $6,600 a month income. Now, I don't know about you, but as an auto mechanic, those numbers weren't real achievable as an auto mechanic, let alone learning the principles to get out of debt and use the money that I've been given more effectively, start saving money, have programs to cut costs in my life. All those things radically changed my life. So I don't know what your story is going to be, but I like to share my story with you because a few short years ago, I started learning the defense, getting out of debt, freeing up some money so I could start investing that money in my own business, go on the offense and start producing income in my life. Suddenly, a few short years in, we're getting out of debt. We're walking away from our jobs and totally being free financially because we applied the right principles and started to gain financial success through systematic approaches and create our own business. I'm telling you guys, your world can be radically different. And you can come in here and you can take it to whatever level you want. And it's just amazing. So let me give you a few ending comments here. The first thing you should do is get your application and hold your spot. I can't tell you the number of things that I've spent money on that had no value to my life that cost more than it takes to hold your spot and start learning about life leadership. From there, it's totally up to you because you can take this as high as you want. It doesn't matter when you get started. It doesn't matter where you are working with who. It matters what you decide to do with this company. And we welcome you to Life Leadership.
We had no good information in our lives from an area of finance when we got started.
No, not at all.
We were taught that work hard, play hard, and being in debt was a natural thing.
We were really in what I would call debt denial.
Our debt was 6 figures.
We were $800,000 in debt.
$950,000.
I don't know if you've ever had the feeling of being choked and it just is getting tighter and tighter, and that's how we felt.
We weren't just broke, we were broken.
There looked like there was no way out.
One of my struggle was if you have an issue with you're dealing with something, you got to figure it out on your own. It took me years to come to a point, to a dark place, that I had to figure out that there are people out there who know better than what I know.
There were so many questions that we didn't know how to answer.
When the financial fitness program came into our lives, not only we got the principles and the practices and all the things go with that, but we also got with that a package of a few people who came into our life who actually lived through this.
The financial fitness program has been a lifesaver for us. When we applied the principles of the offense, defense, and playing field, that's made all the difference in the world for us.
The thing that I really like about it is it's written in a way that's so easy to understand.
It was June of 2014 that we wrote the last check for any debt that we had.
About a month ago, we were actually able to write our last check.
It's wonderful to have that debt lifted off of our shoulders.
I think your pillow feels softer. There's not as much weighing on you.
We have 3 kids and 7 grandkids. We work constantly, we never saw them. And now, if they call up and say they got a ball game or something, we're there. And that's all because of what we've applied to within our finances.
We walk into our second home, which is a beautiful, beautiful log cabin. And for the moment that we walked in the house, I mean, you gotta imagine, it's all pine. You walk in, the cool smell of pine, and I looked at him and I said, does it smell better paid for? Or is it just me? And it was really just kind of fun. We were both thinking the same thing at the same moment. So,
hi there, I'm Lisa Hawkins, and you just had an opportunity to hear from my husband, Dan. He did an incredible job of laying out this information, what it's done for us in our life, what this opportunity has done, and what it could do for you. I encourage you, find out what your next step is. Whoever gave you this information, whoever introduced you to this opportunity, wants to help you take your next step. Ask them that question, what's next for me? Find out where there is a meeting in your area. Because what Dan and I did at that meeting that we attended is we walked in the door as a daycare provider and an auto mechanic, and we walked out thinking there could be something more. There was an opportunity here. We didn't have to grocery shop with a calculator. I didn't have to dilute laundry soap. There was an opportunity for us to have more time with our growing family, to invest and influence their lives for the better. So for you, I encourage you, find out what your next step is. Attend that meeting in your area. Grab some information and find out what life leadership can do for you and your family in your life. Thanks for letting me share.
Hi, I'm David Ortiz. Thank you for your interest in life leadership. Here is how you can contact us. Thank you.